Don't have it up in time as we started going live. Oh no.
Approaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jibbs, on a beautiful Monday morning without rain, if you live in Jersey. And today we're talking rookie wide receivers and tight ends. Today I have Coach Steve. We have Dan, a reoccurring guest of ours throughout the month. And we'll let these guys tell you how they feel and how their NFL draft weekend was. Dan?
What's up, guys? It feels like the weekend just kind of flew by, but at the same time, it also feels like it was 5 years ago. I know Steve was on the stream with us. We streamed for like 12 hours this weekend on the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel, and I'm back on StreamYard. It feels like I never left. Home away from home, as I call it. But no, I'm excited that we have landing spots, draft capital. We could finally dive into the meat and the potatoes of this draft class. And I don't know about you, Steve. I have like 3 rookie drafts going right now. So not only am I like making analysis for the show, I'm like doing these picks live as we speak.
I am in 7, 8 right now. So it's fun. They're all going so slow, though. That's the thing. And everyone's like, who wants to trade up? Who wants to trade up? I'm like, just make a pick, please.
Okay, so I guess that's a good thing to talk about real fast is the reoccurring theme in all my rookie drafts is everyone's like, all right, I'm going to wait on the clock for like an hour and see if anybody wants to trade up. Yes. Not a single trade up has happened in any of my drafts.
I've had a couple here and there, but it's just like, all right, come on. Like, if you're not getting a trade within the first 10 minutes, there's no one wants to trade with you more than I'm saying.
I was lucky enough to trade out of the 103 down to the 110 in a 1 quarterback league, and I picked up TJ Hawkinson for that move.
It's not bad.
Which I mean, obviously you're giving up on Jibbs/JSN, which is kind of like the top end of the top tier 1 quarterback leagues. But I mean, to pick up a starting tight end, I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer at that point.
I respect it. Yeah, I mean, the rookie drafts are going nuts right now. And again, we're here to talk today to talk about these wide receivers. Oh, you're on mute, Jibbs.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say there's no news. We kind of went over, I guess, DeAndre Swift going to the Eagles on Saturday night. So
did you order a Bulldogs jersey yet? Like a Georgia jersey?
I need to. I gotta get this thing out of here.
One of my coworkers went to school at Georgia. He says, "I guess I got to order an Eagles jersey now." Oh, he's a Saints fan. I'll send him one. He's like, it's time to convert.
Well, I'm about to be converting to SEC champs. So wide receivers that were taken in round 1, we have Seattle taking Jackson Smith and Jigba at the 20th pick. Quentin Johnson was selected by the Chargers with the 21st pick. Zay Flowers, 3 wide receivers in a row, picked with the 22nd pick by the Ravens. 4. And Jordan Addison taken by the Vikings with the 23rd pick. So Dan, you're a guest. I'll let you discuss each one, and then also let the listeners know where you feel comfortable drafting them in a rookie draft. If you want to split it up 1 QB super flex, you're more than.
Yeah, so the smokescreen was definitely in full effect leading into the draft because we were told it was going to be 2 at most. And as we approached the 20s of the first round of the NFL draft, I was beginning to think that was going to become true because I knew JSN was a lock for the first round, but you know, it's once one goes, there's a run. It happens in both fantasy football, and I guess it happens in the real NFL draft. So landing spot wise, I think Jordan Addison probably lands into the best 2023 location. He immediately steps in as the wide receiver 2 there. Zay Flowers, I think, has to be the worst landing spot, although that's probably going to be a great debate throughout the summer is how much does the Todd Monken Ravens offense differ from the Greg Roman Ravens offense? And then obviously JSN is wide receiver 3 in Seattle. Tyler Lockett is on the wrong age of 30. So it could be a much better 2024 play than 2023. I still like the spot, honestly. And then Quentin Johnston was never been much of my guy. I'll let Coach Steve get into him because I know he loves QJ. But this is probably the best landing spot that he could have gone to. He will take over that Mike Williams role if Mike Williams is moved on from in 2024, or when Williams is hurt throughout the 2023 season, he'll step in there. As far as rookie drafts go, JSN is at the top of the class for me. He's going to go top 3 in one quarterback and top 5 or 6 in Superflex. And then I got Jordan Addison as my wide receiver 2. Zay Flowers comes in at wide receiver 3, despite the suboptimal landing spot. QJ is my wide receiver 6, and there's a couple wide receivers taken later on that we'll talk about before him, but that's just the way it breaks down for me. So I'll throw this Steve to talk about QJ.
Yeah. I mean, I like the Jackson Smith and Jigba pick to Seattle. I felt like that was a pretty mocked pick for them to grab a guy like him on their team. Like Dan said, he probably doesn't have as much value for 2023, but 2024 and beyond, he should be a solid, wide receiver 2 for this team, or potentially take over for DK. Probably not, but he should be a really solid pick for Dynasty moving forward right now. He's definitely someone that is probably in that pick 5, pick 6 range of conversation in Superflex leagues, probably top 3 in non-Superflex leagues. Quentin Johnson, I love this pick there. I mean, no one thought Quentin Johnson was going to go in the first round. He didn't get invited to the draft, and he ends up in the first round to probably the best spot for him to go to in the Chargers. We know that Kellen Moore is there now. He wants to open up the passing offense here. I think there could be potential for him to have a role in 2023 as a flex option at times throughout the season here. We know Keenan Allen continues to get banged up. We know that Michael Williams continues to get banged up, both on the wrong side of 28. I think it's a really strong landing spot. And if you're going to get him probably at the 1.7, 1.8 range, 1.9, I've seen him drop to. People, I think, are underestimating the potential he has with the Chargers. And, of course, he's tied to Justin Herbert. You can't hate that. Zay Flowers, I don't really like the landing spot because we don't know what this offense is going to look like now. It used to be run heavy. It might not be that case. We know Lamar Jackson isn't going to throw for 600 times in a season probably, or throw more than 30 touchdown passes. So it's questionable his ceiling. I think we talked about this on the show, Dan, when I was on. His ceiling seems kind of capped now because I thought he had a lot of potential to go to a team where he could be a wide receiver 1 for a more pass-heavy team. We'll see what that goes to. Probably back of the first round makes the most sense for Zay Flowers. If he falls this, I've seen him fall to the second round. It's pretty interesting, but probably back of the first. Jordan Addison, I thought this was a win for him as well. He was projected to go potentially in the first round. I think he landed in a situation where it helps his 23 value and his future value overall. I mean, you're going to get Kirk Cousins for a year and an offense that loves to throw the ball constantly. He doesn't have to worry about being the number 1, which was a concern for him to go to like New England or somewhere else where they needed a number 1 wide receiver. Doesn't have to worry about that. Now you have Justin Jefferson to handle that. He can work underneath and do what he does best. And again, he's someone who goes in that 7-8 range that I like to grab there. And he should be tied to Justin Jefferson for a long time. Maybe he doesn't have wide receiver 1 upside in terms of like top 6, top 7 for Dynasty, but he should probably be a really solid wide receiver 2 for a long time.
Ooh, that's some strong feelings you got there, Coach Steve.
Yeah. Dan's trying to talk, but I feel like we're not hearing him.
Sorry, I was on mute. Let me ask you about the Ravens real fast. Do you guys think that they're intending to pass more this year with the signing of both Odell Beckham this week and the drafting of Zay Flowers in the first round? Or is the Odell move just like a olive branch to get the Lamar contract finally done?
I think they have to end up throwing the ball a little bit more because they've gone through this offense with Greg Roman to run constantly, and it obviously hasn't been working for them to get them to the next level. They have to end up stopping Lamar from running the ball consistently and let him throw the ball a little bit more. We've seen at times Lamar is capable of making big throws consistently in games, but they just don't allow him to make that opportunity too often. Not they're running the ball way too much, or they're allowing Lamar Jackson to run the ball too much. So it could be interesting, but again, it's a big mystery exactly what that offense is going to really do. And Zay Flowers probably could be a huge question mark that could be really shitty, or it could end up being like not like Justin Jefferson value, but like a mini, like, oh wow, he fell to the later rounds where he ended up playing really well.
Well, for me, I just think like the Ravens passing like volume is so low that it has to go up. Like I don't see them signing Odell Beckham for $18 million just to block, and I don't see them getting Zay Flowers just to block. And I just think with the pieces they have involved in the offense now, it's just like you don't have to lean on Mark Andrews as much, and I think it could be a more viable passing options in 2023 moving forward. All right, let's get into some wide receivers taken in round 2. We have Jonathan Mingo taken by the Panthers with the 39th pick. Jalen Reed taken by the Packers with the 50th pick. Rashee Rice by the Chiefs with the 55th pick. And then the Broncos taking Marvin Mims to round out round 2 with the 63rd pick. Dan, you're first up on this one. Same thing as before. Let us know your analysis on them, and if you feel like any of these guys right here are picks that could be qualified for a round 1, or they're like late or early round 2.
Yeah, so Mingo I actually have as my wide receiver 4 post draft. I love the landing spot in Carolina. He's hooked up with Bryce Young for the foreseeable future, and it's also a wide receiver room that I think he can get in there right away and compete for targets. We have DJ Chark, who is kind of like your prototypical field stretcher. I don't want to call him one-dimensional, but I think he is limited as far as an overall receiver. And the other thing I mentioned, I think the other night, is we're now seeing Chark on his 3rd contract with 3 separate teams, which is never a good sign for a player's dynasty and fantasy football implications, kind of just like a jag, kind of like just a guy who rotates around the league. And then you got Adam Thielen. Who knows what we're even going to get out of Adam Thielen this year. And then Terrace Marshall was a nice story at the tail end of last year, but I think that Mingo can really get in there and establish dominance early on as the wide receiver 1 down there in Carolina. And there's always the whole narrative, these guys, they go through orientation together, rookie mini camp together, they become best friends. They're sitting next to each other on the bus. Mingo and Young, they're going to form a connection there. And, I think he will be the best one out of this 2nd round of wide receivers. Jaden Reed, I don't know what the Packers are doing, honestly. They're just doing Packers things where they confuse us. They go Lucas Van Ness in the 1st round when we saw all those wide receivers that are available, even the tight ends. And speaking of tight ends, they took 2 in, I want to say it was like back-to-back rounds. So very confusing what is going on in Green Bay as far as the offense. And I'm not like super sold on Jordan Love being a functional NFL quarterback. So Jaden Reed, I love as a player, but it does worry me a bit, the landing spot, with the uncertainty on how the offense will operate with Jordan Love and if Jordan Love will even be efficient enough. Rashee Rice, oh boy, this is going to be the conversation of the summer. Right? Doesn't this feel like the CEH thing from 2020? I was talking on the stream with Tim, and I could already picture the summer training camp. You got Mahomes in the mustard yellow shorts. He's got the red "Don't Touch Me" jersey. You got Rashee Rice. He's tall. He's got the practice pads on. He's got the midriff exposed a little bit. And what does Rashee Rice do best? He goes up. He high points the ball. He is like a contortionist in the air. He has the ability to move his body in unnatural ways, which is like amazing for Instagram slow-mo highlight reels. And every time you see one of those posts, you could hear tick, 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 tick. And that's his underdog ADP just rising all summer. Yes. The things I didn't like about Rice on his tape were a lack of effort on plays that he wasn't involved in. And he wasn't gaining a lot of separation playing sub-tier talent, basically, at SMU. But, Mahomes is kind of like the ocean that rises all boats. So I like Rashee Rice in Kansas City, but I know for a fact that the price you're going to have to pay to get him, I'm probably going to be out, because he's probably going to be going in the back end of the 1st round, which I'm just not interested in. And then Marvin Mims was probably one of my favorite wide receivers coming into the draft, and he lands in what seems like a very crowded wide receiver room. But Tim and I did some analysis of this over the weekend, and by the 2024 season, both Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and Tim Patrick can be off the Broncos team. I know the Broncos picked up Jerry Jeudy's 5th-year option this morning. That doesn't mean it's out of the range of possibilities that he isn't traded at some point this summer, because that was the one hot and heavy trade rumor we heard all spring. And he was actually almost a Cleveland Brown. From what I've heard out of sources in the Browns front office is that Cleveland was very close to getting a deal done with the Broncos to get Jerry Jeudy, but they were talking to the Broncos with Jeudy, and they're talking to the Jets with Elijah Moore. And the Moore price just came in just a little bit cheaper, which works out because the Browns didn't have a lot of draft capital to begin with. So I don't think we're done with the Jerry Jeudy being moved rumors. And if that's the case, that receiving core, Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick, that's a great receiving core. So Marvin Mims is the type of guy where I loved him as a prospect. The landing spot seems very crowded right now, but I think we can see an improvement by the time we get through the end of the summer. So that being said, Mingo is my wide receiver 4. I have Jaden Reed at my wide receiver 7, Marvin Mims at my wide receiver 9, and Rashee Rice as my wide receiver 10. Mingo, I will probably be targeting at the end of the first round. I know I said wide receiver 4, but I don't think I need to take him in the middle of the first just because I don't think many people are as high on him as I am. And then Reed, Mims, and Rashee Rice are going to be like second round targets for me. I know Rashee Rice I'll never get any of because where I would draft him, he just simply won't go at all. So that's the way I would have these guys broken down.
Yeah, I mean, simple answer is I don't think I would be drafting any of them in the first round still. Personal opinion. I haven't seen any of them go in the first round, and I've been done through 7 drafts almost, and I haven't seen a single one go through the first round yet. Jonathan Mingo, I wasn't as high as many people were on him overall. I thought there were issues with separation in his route running, but he does land in a favorable situation that if his talent can kind of outbeat the old aging Adam Thielen, the one who hasn't broke out Terrence Marshall, and the one who's just continuing to move teams, DJ Moore, there's a chance for him to be successful at the NFL level here. Kind of reminds me, but he has the same opportunity that Terrence Marshall had a couple years ago to kind of step up, and hopefully his talent can do that at the 23 season, 24 season to make that next jump here. Again, for me, he's probably an early to mid second round pick. Jalen Reed, I really liked a lot. I had him as, I think, my wide receiver 11 before the draft, and I just don't like the landing situation for him because I don't know, like kind of what Dan said, what the Packers are doing. I mean, I don't know who's going to be the wide receiver or the pass catching number 2. Is it going to be a tight end? Is it going to be Aaron Jones? Is it going to be Romeo Doubs still? Is it going to be Jalen Reed? I know that the capital suggests that Reed has a big opportunity here. And I do like when someone gets drafted who I liked in terms of talent high. So, I mean, I'm drafting him in the middle of round 2. I've seen him fall into round 3 at times. So you're going to get a value probably. You probably don't need to take him in the middle of round 2 because people aren't valuing him as high, it seems like. So early round 3, late round 2 is probably where you could steal him probably for a value. We'll see if his talent and how this Packers offense moves forward. The Chiefs, I like Rashee Rice. He was someone I'm doing an article on of winners of the NFL draft in terms of rookie wide receivers. I mean, he needed to land in a situation where I think he can be a big body target for an offense here. And you need one for the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce is getting older. Don't know how many more years he's going to have of elite talent. I mean, maybe 2, maybe 1. Who knows? Maybe this is the last year. We don't even know. Rashee Rice has a more prototypical type of wide receiver that can help Patrick Mahomes. I know there's obviously issues that Dan kind of mentioned, and I definitely get those, and I definitely had those similar concerns. But big body target, he has yards after the catch ability to his game, and he's someone who I took at the 2, one of my leagues. I think he can go mid to early first round. I feel like that's the talent to take there. I feel like it's a safer bet than what we were doing last year with Sky Moore, taking him in the back of the first round. If you're getting Rashee Rice in the middle to early second round, I feel like that's better value and less risk to take on that. Marvin Mims, definitely was a fan of him as we were getting closer to draft. I think Dan kind of sold me on him a little bit as we were talking about over the last month. It's definitely not a good 23 situation because I really just don't know how this Sean Payton offense is going to work. Sean Payton hasn't really had many wide receivers to be elite. He's usually just one. And I don't know if Marvin Mims is a true wide receiver 1 for a team. He's probably a better 2 in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. He might not have the rookie year that you want, but more of a 2024 season. But there's also a lot of mouths to feed there. We'll see. Maybe, like Dan said, all those mouths are gone going in 2024, but they might also not be. And then you have to worry about the tight end situation. Greg Dulcich, Sean Payton loved his tight ends over his time frame there in New Orleans. He loves
Adam Troutman's there now.
Yeah, Adam Troutman's there now. They traded for them. You have the run game where they like to throw the ball to the running backs, or at least if they at least have a running back that can catch the ball, then maybe they will do that. But so it's like a crowded situation that you're going to have to buy into and hope that eventually his talent will break out and do well, which it could. But again, it's more of a mid-round 2 kind of thing for me. So
there you go. And that's your analysis on the wide receivers taken in round 2. And we're going to head over to round 3. And the Texans getting Tank Dell with the 69th pick. Nice. Giants getting Jalen Hyatt with the 73rd pick. Cedric Tillman goes to the Browns with the 74th pick. Josh Downs to the Colts, 79th pick. Cardinals get Michael Wilson with the 94th pick. In the round 3 wide receivers, we have the Raiders taking Trey Tucker with the 100th pick in the NFL draft. Dan, give me some guys you like, some guys you don't like, and if you would take these guys in round 2.
Yeah, so if anyone's been paying attention, I haven't mentioned my wide receiver 5 yet. Josh Downs is actually coming in as my wide receiver 5 in rookie rankings right now. What people don't realize is he's going to be starting day 1 of the Colts. They don't have a slot receiver on their roster as it stands. So Josh Downs is going to slide right into that slot role. So he will be an almost every snap type of player for the Colts. Now, I'll address the elephant in the room, which is the giant man from Florida. We don't know what this Anthony Richardson offense is going to look like. And I mean, it's probably going to be Gardner Minshew for the first, 4 to 6 weeks of the season. And he's going to get on the field early, and we're going to see early on if he has what it takes to stay at the NFL level. And I think he's just electric enough with the ball in his hands that Shane Steichen is going to see a lot of opportunities, just scheme something to get him the ball and let him make plays after. And if you look at this Colts roster, there's Anthony Richardson, and there's Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr. There's a lot of guys that you have to keep an eye on that are big playmakers. And I think Josh Downs, pun intended, can, he's small enough where he'll kind of, hide behind all those guys when it comes to the defense's, eyes. Tank Dell in Houston, I actually love that fit. The Texans wide receiver core is pretty bleak, so he has the ability very early on to step in there, dominate, form a role for himself and establish kind of what I was saying with Mingo and the Panthers. He's going to go through rookie minicamp with Stroud. He's going to go through orientation with Stroud. They're going to become best friends. Do I worry about Tank Dell performing at the next level given his size? Yes, I do. And I said it in a lot of my pre-draft content talking about Nathaniel Dell that I will very easily be off of Tank Dell if I see him not being schemed open, if I see him kind of losing to defensive backs who get their hands on him and kind of bully him around. But I think that this is a ceiling type of landing spot for him. The 2 Tennessee wide receivers, Tim and I on our show were joking around that we do a mock draft Monday show for Dynasty Nerds, and every single week, Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman are always drafted back to back. And what would you know? In the NFL draft, they are back to back. And I was just checking my wide receiver rankings like right now because we were having some problems at the website before. And what would you know? Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt are back-to-back my rankings at wide receiver 11 and wide receiver 12. So these two are just destined to be compared for the length of their careers. Hyatt, he has a better shot at a role year 1. He brings something to the Giants offense that the rest of the wide receiver room doesn't have when it comes to a vertical speed element. Cedric Tillman, I am a Browns fan, and I know for a fact that his role in 2023 is not going to be that big. He was drafted because, one, he was good value at where he was. He's a very good wide receiver, but he is being brought on as insurance for if they decide that Amari Cooper is becoming too expensive for what we're getting out of him, or the more likely case where Donovan Peoples-Jones is not retained by the Browns into the 2024 season. So he's kind of like, I've been saying this with a lot of guys so far. It's kind of like a second year type of play. And then we got Michael Wilson, the Stanford wide receiver. He's going to the Cardinals. Listen, I don't know what this Arizona offense is going to look like this year. I don't think it's going to be putting up many points. This is going to be like your late end of the third round, early fourth round stash in rookie drafts where he's just going to live on your taxi squad until Kyler Murray comes back in, late 23 into 24. And then you have an offense in 2024 with Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rondell Moore. It's going to be great. And then Trey Tucker was kind of surprising because I was expecting the other Cincinnati wide receiver, Tyler Scott, to go before him. But the Raiders, they always make questionable decisions when it comes to draft selections. They're like the Packers of the West, if you will.
Over to me, I guess. Probably the one I like the most is Cedric Tillman, to be honest, on the Browns, to be honest. Like Dan said, it's probably not a big 2023 season for him, but in 2024, he mentioned the Amari Cooper thing and the Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, if they go, you have Elijah Moore and then Cedric Tillman with, Deshaun Watson as their quarterback. That's a good quarterback who knows how to throw the ball. So there's opportunity for him to really step into his own in 2024. You're going to get him probably in the third round of drafts. That's something I would probably prefer than going for a guy like Jalen Hyatt, who fell in drafts to the Giants. He definitely has a skill set that is different from a lot of the other Giants players on the team there, but it's hard to trust who's going to see the target share. And do we trust Daniel Jones enough to make multiple or one wide receiver fantasy relevant in the entire season? Definitely a big concern to me. I don't think that's possible, especially with even Darren Waller there now. And if Saquon actually wants to come back to the Giants, that's going to take away from the target share right there. So Jalen Hyatt's going mid to early round 2 still. I'd rather take Cedric Tillman in round 3. Yeah, I like Josh Downs a lot. I'm just concerned about the target share on that offense there. I really liked Alec Pierce the last year. Michael Pittman's still there. You have Anthony Richardson. I don't know how much they plan on having him throw. He's going into mid-round 2. I probably would rather pass up on that right now than wait to see how Anthony's value is structured or how his role in the NFL starts off with. Tank Dell wasn't really a big fan of him always. So, for him, it's just kind of like it's a boom-bust pick. You're either going to hope for the best or it's just not going to work out for him. Again, he's a smaller framed wide receiver. That was one of the big things I didn't like about him. But again, there's potential there, just like Dan said about like him and Mingo. They both have an opportunity to break out on a team that doesn't have a lot of talent at wide receiver. Michael Wilson is definitely someone I'm more interested in as a sleeper. You probably could get him in the 4th round because I did like a lot of things about his route running, his separation. Again, I don't know what the future of this Cardinals offense is going to look like. It seems like DeAndre Hopkins might be staying now. But he could end up being a 4th round pick to keep on your taxi squad and see how that goes over the next few seasons. And then Trey Tucker, I don't really understand the pick that much. He's probably going to go undrafted or at least late 4th round, probably in most rookie drafts.
Okay. So now we get into the latter parts of the drafts. These are wide receivers taken in round 4 and 5. The Chargers took Darius Davis with the 125th pick. Bengals taking Charlie Jones with the 131st pick. Tyler Scott taken by the Bears with the 133rd pick. Justin Shorter, hope he's not short, picked by the Bills with the 150th pick. Wicks was taken by the Packers with the 159th pick. D. Wicks and Puka Nakua taken by the Rams with Nakua taken by the Rams with the 177th pick in the draft. Are any of these guys on any of your rookie draft boards, or do you see you guys taking these guys in the foreseeable future?
Oh, definitely. First we got to start with Justin Shorter, South Brunswick native, Jersey born and bred. He's got to land in the 5th round in all of our rookie drafts, no matter what. That being said, I didn't do a ton of scouting homework on Justin Shorter coming into the NFL draft. So this is a player that I have marked down as I need to go back and rewatch his tape because he is 6'4" and 219. So he is a big-bodied wide receiver. And obviously the talk around Buffalo is that this might be Gabe Davis's last year on the team. He's going to be pricing himself off the roster with the Josh Allen contract, cap hit becoming higher and higher. It's a player attached to a Josh Allen offense, just like we talked about Rashee Rice earlier being attached to a Patrick Mahomes offense. And I guarantee you, like when I say 5th round rookie pick, I mean 5th round rookie pick, or maybe even picking him up after the rookie draft as an undrafted free agent for your dynasty team and stashing him on the waiver wire. If you give me a 6'4" wide receiver with Josh Allen, I'm going to take a flyer on it, even if I don't know anything about the guy. Tyler Scott, like I was saying before, I thought he would be going where Trey Tucker is. I hate to say it, the Bears wide receiver room is starting to look crowded already. And Justin Fields hasn't exactly proven himself as a passer to support all these guys. So I really didn't like that landing spot for Tyler Scott. And I thought he was going to go earlier in the actual NFL draft. Charlie Jones is a very interesting one because we have the Bengals with the T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow extensions looming, which very clearly means that Tyler Boyd is probably spending his last year in Cincinnati this year. Yes. So there is a role for Charlie Jones if he's good enough to seize it for that wide receiver 3 spot. And we've seen in fantasy leagues in the past that Tyler Boyd has given us, week-winning weeks. He's definitely got handcuff upside if Chase or Higgins go down, and even standalone value for deeper dynasty leagues. Got Darius Davis on the Chargers because the Eagles will draft every Georgia Bulldog, and I guess the Chargers will draft every TCU Horned Frog. Is that what we're going with here? Hey, whatever. If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. I had Darius Davis pegged as like a 7th rounder, as like a punt return special teams type of guy. So I'm not really interested in him. He's extremely undersized. If you think Tank Dell was small, this guy says, hey, hold my miniature can of Coca-Cola because I got the small title on you. Puka Nacua is probably my favorite out of this group because we have a Los Angeles Rams team that I think it's going to become a not so good kept secret that they are just all in on the quarterback class next year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cooper Kupp traded at some point this summer and the Rams just crash for Caleb or dismantle for Drake. I guess those could be the taglines for the 2023 season. So Puka Nacua has a very clear shot at landing a starting role. And then Dontavian Wicks, I have the same concern I talked about previously with the Packers. I just don't know what that team is doing there. I liked Wicks as a prospect. I don't love the landing spot. And also the draft capital doesn't really instill a ton of confidence in that. That being said, I would say Trey Tucker and Charlie Jones are my 2 highest ranked at wide receiver 15 and 16 respectively. And then Puka Nacua and Dontavian Wicks are wide receiver 22 and 23 respectively for me. So, these guys, in the 4th round, it gets kind of dirty. So, you pick your favorite flavor of dirt at that point.
Yeah, there's not many of these guys I'm drafting probably in most rookie drafts. I do like Charlie Jones a lot there. I think he can fill in nicely when Tyler Boyd leaves the following year. And obviously we don't know what's going on with T. Higgins either. He didn't sign an extension yet. So Charlie Jones could find himself in a really nice situation and a really strong Bengals offense. Davis and Wicks, I probably won't have many shares of them until after the draft. I want to see what their roles are on the teams before I really invest or even add them to my roster. Puka, I kind of liked a little bit. Interesting to see how he works with this Rams offense because they really don't have a number 2 that's like confident enough. Yeah, it's Van Jefferson right now, but it could not be Van Jefferson. We'll see. So he's interesting. Tyler Scott, I wasn't too high on myself, and Dan said the Bears situation is kind of just all over the place. Surprisingly enough, Justin Shorter was like my last ranked wide receiver, and I did like 50 almost wide receivers. So I might have to go back and watch some film on him too. I did not like anything about him as a prospect whatsoever. So surprised that the Bills took him where they took him, to be honest, in this draft. So, but outside of Jones, I probably won't be drafting much of these players.
Wow, I guess you're not drafting much of these other players too that we're going to keep talking about.
No, there's actually more talent here than the last round.
Wow!
All right, I'd like to hear this one. I like to hear this take.
So
okay, I'll go then. Well, go ahead, Jibs. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'll let you go first then.
Yeah, I'll go.
So wide receivers taken in round 6, we got Parker Washington taken by the Jaguars with the 185th pick. Kayshon Boutte taken by the Patriots with the 187th pick. Trey Palmer, 191 pick by the Bucks. A.T. Perry was picked 195 by the Saints. Elijah Higgins, new Miami Dolphin. with the 197th pick. Xavier Hutcherson. Oh, there is some names down here. 205th pick. Andre
Josephus.
Josephus. Oh
Yeah.
my
Princeton
God,
boy.
you're killing it, Dan. 206th pick by the Bengals, and Demario Douglas picked by the Patriots at 210th pick. Coach Steve, there's some talent here. Are any of these guys making your dynasty roster, or are you just going to be scrapping the waiver wire before everyone else gets them?
Four of them, I do like that I could consider taking in my fourth round of my dynasty league, depending on what my needs are at the time. Booty from the Patriots is an interesting play. If he ends up being end up being a big slot role for this offense here. Again, I wasn't too crazy about his talent overall, but if he can find a way to make it work for New England, they have an openings at wide receiver outside of Juju Smith-Schuster. So he has potential to maybe do something as a 6th-round pick. Again, it's minimal, and you take him late in the 4th round of your rookie drafts and see if maybe that young breakout age he had can eventually regain itself and do something at the NFL level. A.T. Perry, I like him. I liked him a little bit coming before the draft here. I think he lands in a good situation with the Saints. The Saints don't have a lot outside of Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is there, but we don't know if he'll ever actually play again. They have Rashad Rashid, but again, he was an undrafted, or I think he was a late round pick in drafts last year. So A.T. Perry could come in and provide, depth as a wide receiver 3 for this team early on. So he's an interesting option for me. Xavier Hutchinson, I was very high on him. He was in my top 10. Again, I think he falls in a situation where if you look at the Texans receivers, just like we talked about with Tank Dell, they're very beatable. So if Hutchinson is a bigger bodied wide receiver, again, reminded me of Michael Pittman. If he can make a name for himself, I think that's possible to do. So he's definitely someone in my 4th round of my rookie drafts I'm looking to take. And the guy from Princeton, the kid from Princeton who went to the Bengals, again, he's probably more of like wait until after the draft to get him, but he intrigues me too. Just like we talked about Charlie Jones, the Bengals could be going through new wide receivers the following year. He is a fast wide receiver, track star. Definitely someone I'm interested to see if maybe he can stick out and be the 5th wide receiver on this team this coming year, and then maybe have a bigger role at 24. So those are my 4 guys. Everyone else, I'm not really too interested in drafting, even the Miami guy. He might even be a tight end. So
I was going to say, wasn't Elijah Higgins announced as a tight end at the draft? I'm very confused because well, you go ahead.
I was like, he's still listed a lot of places as a split wide receiver tight end. So I don't know if that's been official
because
what he wants to do.
The person at the podium announced tight end Elijah Higgins, but everywhere, like graphics wise, it said wide receiver. So I actually don't know like when that gets resolved, the designation, because I mean, it's a 6th rounder. So the 5th-year option isn't a thing. You don't have to worry about that. But like, God forbid the kid breaks out and he gets franchise tagged. What does he get tagged as?
They'll probably figure that over the next couple months and get that done with. I'm sure they'll have him like announce an actual position by the time they get to training camp.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're probably like, franchise tag. We don't have to worry about that shit.
Yeah, probably won't get that.
No offense to Elijah. I met him. He's a very nice kid. He's him and Michael Wilson. They both went to Stanford, and they're like exceptionally well spoken and really nice to talk to, and like probably 2 of the smartest guys that I talked to at the Senior Bowl.
Smart people in Miami.
So I'm going to go down this list. Parker Washington, special teamer. Kayshawn Booty. I said, I think on this show previously that I'm going to let the NFL draft tell me what to do with him. And they told me, all right. They said, hey, Dan, just forget about him. Andre Josephus, he is like a world-class, like Olympic speed track star.
Yes.
So I think he's going to be a special teamer. Demario Douglas, special teams. Elijah Higgins, we still haven't figured out what position he's playing, which is a concern. I would say Xavier Hutchinson and Trey Palmer are the 2 that I like the most out of this group. Trey Palmer, because the Buccaneers are in a very awkward spot, similar to the Rams. Like, it actually looks very similar if you look at it. They went all in, they won a title, and now the roster is just cheeks. So, maybe the Rams are crashing for Caleb and the Bucs are disappointing for Drake. And it's all going to be for nothing because the Texans are going to finish with the number 1 overall pick that belongs to the Arizona Cardinals. So, hey, look how good that Will Anderson trade is going to work out in a year. So I would say if I was taking flyers the end of my rookie drafts at any of these players, it'd be Xavier Hutchinson and then also Trey Palmer. Those would be like my 2 guys. But like I said, we're talking late 5th at that point.
Of course.
Late 5th. And these guys are probably going undrafted in your dynasty leagues. You have Antoine Green taken by the Lions for the 219th pick. Colton Dow taken by the Titans, 228th pick. Jalen Brooks by the Cowboys for the 244th pick. Ronnie Bell taken by the 49ers. Grant DuBois taken by the Packers. Undrafted restricted free agents. You have Matt Landers, Mitchell Tinsley, Joseph Ngata, Jalen Wade, Bryce Ford Wheaton. We have we have Dante Demis and Rakim Jarrett to round out this group. Do you believe in any of these guys?
I will say that I am either taking with the last pick in the 5th round or adding after the draft Bryce Ford Wheaton in all my leagues. Mm-hmm. He is, I believe he's like 6'2", 6'3", very large wide receiver out of West Virginia. And his RAS testing was like off the chart. His knock was drops and like body control issues. But like I said, the Giants have a lot of small guys. So if he can get onto that roster, make the team, and get his hands, under control, he very clearly has the ability to earn playing time for the Giants. So it's one like I think I said this before on the show that with these later prospects, I'm looking for like outliers profile-wise, and Bryce Ford Wheaton's athleticism combined with his frame, given the draft class, I consider an outlier. So he's just definitely somebody I would make sure to either draft at the end of your rookie draft or pick up to put on your taxi squad after the draft is over. Besides that's it though. That's all I got for this group.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the similar boat. There's one more I'll mention real quick. Yeah, Bryce Ford Wheaton, definitely someone you should pick up last pick or so of your drafts or right after the draft's over, because there's potential being a different type of wide receiver than basic everything on the Giants has. Antoine Green is interesting to me just because of the Jameson Williams situation. I know they have, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones, Raymond sitting over there, but Green was a deep ball specialist. Interesting to see if maybe he can kind of stick that roster and maybe make a role for himself. Again, it's probably like after your draft, add him to your taxi squad bench if you have an extra spot to see, but that's really about it with this group.
All right, well, there's your wide receivers. We could do the tight ends next, and there's a bunch of them, premium guys too. Dalton Kincaid was picked by the Bills at the 26th pick in round 1. Sam Laporta was picked with the second pick in round 2. Raiders get Michael Mayer with the 35th pick. Packers get Luke Musgrave with the 42nd pick. Cowboys find their predecessor, Luke Schoonemaker, with the 58th pick. And the Jaguars get Brenton Strange. So you guys could discuss each one. Dan, I'll let you go off the top.
Yeah, so I know Dynasty Nerds were known as the Dalton Kincaid operation, and our wishes were granted for us night 1 of the NFL draft when he was selected by the Buffalo Bills. This is a great landing spot, and one thing I like to mention is GM Brandon Beane was giving an interview post-draft about Dalton Kincaid and how they like him and his role, and his first words were like he reminds him of a bigger Cole Beasley. So if anybody remembers back, it was like the 2020 season, Cole Beasley finished as like a wide receiver 2 based on volume alone. So I think they have plans to use Dalton Kincaid early and often. He's my tight end 1 in the class, like bar none. And I would probably take him at the back end of the first round in a Superflex rookie draft. Depending on the amount of tight end premium in my league, I could have him going as high as like the 7th or 8th overall player. Then we have Sam Laporta to the Lions, which was a bit of a shocker, I would say, to people who were watching the draft. Most people had Michael Mayer as the tight end 2, but they went honestly back-to-back picks, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Just the fact that Laporta went first. Laporta, he's going to see work early with Detroit because of the Jameson Williams suspension, which is going to be great because you love to see like an early return on your rookie draft capital. And kind of the same thing goes for Mayer because Darren Waller is gone. So he slides right into that tight end 1 role, and being selected at the top of the second shows that the franchise has a very obvious plan for him. Luke Musgrave is in an awkward situation because of a player that we'll talk about on the very next slide. And like we said with the Packers, I really don't know what's going on there. And then Shoemaker and Brenton Strange are probably the strangest Titan picks in this group. Shoemaker is an older prospect. He's going to be 25 by the time the NFL season starts. But the Cowboys tight end room is really looking for somebody like, fill a gap, step up, take a role. So I will take second round flyers on Shoemaker just based on where he landed and like potential for targets. Brenton Strange, I don't know what the Jaguars are doing. There's a lot of other tight ends on the board at the time. There is a lot of needs besides tight end that Jacksonville could have went with. Evan Ingram is on the franchise tag this year, so he's there for at least 1 more year unless he signs a longer-term deal. So I have Strange as my tight end 8 just because on draft capital alone, you can't fade somebody like this. Shoemaker is my tight end 5, and then, the rest of the guys all fall within my top 4.
All right. Over to me, I guess. So yeah, Dalton Kincaid, back end of the first, early second round pick. I don't overly love it. I know everyone is in love with this pick here. I'm just confused on how they plan on using these 2 tight ends together on the field. That's my only thing with Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I really would wish he landed in a situation we knew he was going to be the full-time tight end for a team. And that's my only knock on it. I know Dawson Knox is out, I think in 24 or is it 25, somewhere around that time frame. And see, I don't know how his target levels are going to be in this offense. They'd like to spread the ball around. You've seen a lot of players get targets in this offense. They might try to run the ball a little bit more this year. You saw the Bills sign Latavius Murray today. That's a big signing, So, like I said, it's a good pick still. I'm just concerned overall. I mean, the injuries with the back is a little of a concern, but I really wish he went to a team where we knew that he was going to be the number 1 tight end on that team. We don't know if he's going to start off the season as the number 1. Maybe he gets there, but he's still going to be splitting the role with Dawson Knox. They paid him all that money. They're not just going to move on from Dawson Knox this season. Sam Laporta, again, I wish he went to the Lions. Sam Laporta to the Lions. I love this pick here. I was a big Sam Laporta fan here. He should fit in nicely as the tight end 1 for this team. Again, his ceiling is capped because there are a lot of weapons there. So he's probably got like a late round 2 pick for me in most leagues. Michael Mayer, I do like this pick a lot there, especially in tight end premium leagues. If I can get him in the, early second round pick, I would love that there. He should slide in as the tight end 1 for the team. He's a fantastic blocker, a decent pass catcher. Should be no issues there. Actually, the Raiders for once actually drafted a player that actually makes a ton of sense for them to go out and get in Mayer. So I like that pick. Dan, I'm kind of agreed with you on Luke Musgrave because especially the guy we'll talk about in a second here. I like him, and he could be the tight end 1, but he might not be. I've seen him go early round 2. That could be a mistake. Probably better off late second, early third round pick for me, unless it's a tight end premium league and everyone gets a little bump then. But he's been going in third rounds a lot, but I've seen him go in early second rounds too. I think people like the addition there, especially for tight end premium leagues. Luke Shoemaker, he has an opportunity. He could beat out who are the tight ends over there right now? I can't even think.
Jake Ferguson and Peyton Hendershot.
He has a shot to beat them out. He could be the tight end 1 for this Cowboys offense. I probably still won't draft him though until like the 3rd round. He has a shot. I mean, there's opportunity there. The Cowboys tight end usually performs pretty well, but he wasn't really that high on my board. I think I had him like tight end 8 before the season. So before the draft started. So, I mean, he wasn't highly regarded, but he could end up taking the role, but I'd rather take that risk in like the late 3rd round. Brenton Strange doesn't really make sense. I mean, decent blocker, but I think there are other tight ends like Dan mentioned that they could have went out that has more upside to their game as a tight end. But again, I probably won't draft him. I probably will let someone else take that guy, but he's probably going in that 3rd round, 4th round range probably.
Yeah, I feel like honestly after the big 4, I'm just good.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'll see you. I mean, the real move if you need a tight end is after the first big 4 are gone to like use that draft capital, go out and like I don't know, trade for like maybe a Adam Troutman with a new situation in Denver, or maybe like a Noah Fant who hasn't seen anybody added to the room really in Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get into some of the guys taken in rounds 3 and 5. We got Tucker Kraft taken by the Packers, aforementioned Darnell Washington, Cameron Letu, Josh Wiley, Will Mallory, Payne Durham, and Davis Allen to round out the groups. Ending at round 5. What was that?
I hate all of these landing
spots.
Oh,
tell me why you hate them.
Well, I mean, Tucker Kraft lands with the Packers after selecting, Luke Musgrave a round before. I mean, there's potential there. He could be the true tight end one there. It's potential. But again, now you're in with 2 young tight ends. In that situation, it just doesn't make a lot of sense with an inexperienced quarterback. Darnell Washington, you have Pat Freiermuth. He is a good tight end. Now you bring him in there. I just don't know what kind of upside he has now with limited targets. Cameron Letu, he's going to be George Kittle's backup probably at some point during the season. Again, he was just a decent, okay tight end. I mean, he's someone maybe after draft you could probably get and be happy with. And the rest of the guys kind of, Josh Wiley, you have Chig already there to deal with. He's going to be probably a backup. Will Mallory has like 6 tight ends in Indy that he's going to have to compete with. And they drafted the 3rd round Jelani Woods last year. Peyton Dorman seems like to be probably the next Cameron Brate for the Buccaneers for the next 10 years. Someone who probably will be a decent play, but nothing that will be upside related. Davey Allen, I didn't hate him. I liked him. He was someone I kind of mentioned to be somewhat of a Tyler Higbee situation, and he ends up with Tyler Higbee in LA. So that could be, I guess I don't hate a lot of them, but they're just not players that these are 3 to 3 year out tight ends at this point. None of these guys are expecting to break out in a 1st or 2nd year like some of these recent tight ends have. These are guys you're going to hold on your bench for 3 years, and then eventually they'll take that next step.
Feel that. You love anyone, Dan?
Pass.
Oh, you're more than welcome to that.
No, the one thing I do want to mention with is there's no analysis by this, but doesn't it feel like when a team double taps a position, it's like the second guy who winds up being good? Yes. So I feel like I should be taking Tucker Kraft instead of Luke Shoemaker. Also, because you probably get him like a round later in rookie drafts. Darnell Washington is the one I want to talk about because I wanted to grab your thoughts on him real fast. Now, we were hearing a lot of medical concerns regarding a knee, and that's why he dropped to pick 93 after being talked about as a top 30 player in this draft class. And the other thing is he lands in Pittsburgh, where the drumbeat that I heard all off season was to like build the picket fence and like get pass protection for Kenny Pickett and to help Najee Harris in the run game. Assuming those rumors coming out of the front office were true, does that mean that the Steelers view Darnell Washington as a 3rd tackle? And like, is he basically brought in just to pass protect? Because the team has Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, they just added Allen Robinson. Like, they are good on pass catching options. And that's not even mentioning Pat Freiermuth. So I feel like for fantasy football purposes, Darnell's kind of just dead.
Yeah. He's a great NFL addition to the Steelers team that they needed another player like that who could block for their quarterback and running back.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page then.
But for fantasy and rookie drafts, most of these guys I don't want to touch until after the draft. And if I have an extra taxi squad spot, maybe I'll add one of them depending on who I like the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also knowing these guys are going to be in your waiver wire week 8 and beyond in the redraft season. Wrapping up tight ends taken in around 6 and 7. We have Zach Kuntz, and then we have Braden Willis. The Jets took Zach Kuntz with the 220 pick in round 7, and the 49ers took Braden Willis with the 247 pick.
Should have really just let this slide out. I should have just let it slide out, but I didn't want to overfill the one slide.
We're bleeding here.
Double pass.
And you have it there, folks.
I didn't hate Knutes, but he just landed 7th round in a bad situation.
I will say one thing. The one thing I've heard from San Francisco beat reporters is that Braden is probably going to be converting to fullback.
Makes sense.
Ooh, you checked Junior.
He was a running back that switched to tight end, so.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's all I've heard because they also drafted Cameron Latou, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They double tap tight end. So so from what I've heard is Braden will be playing fullback on the roster.
Yeah. Well, God bless. He better keep McCaffrey upright.
Well, it makes sense. They're like one of the few teams that actually uses a fullback full time. You know.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. Well, there's your analysis on these low-hanging fruit tight ends. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. This is our wide receiver tight end preview. If you want to catch back up or recap, obviously you can find us on YouTube at the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. You could also find us on Twitter, ask some questions at Coaches Fantasy. If you want to holler at Dan will let you know.
Right there.
Dan T
Find
NFL.
Me on Twitter at DanT_NFL.
And Coach Steve obviously can be found at.
Yeah, Coach Stephen P on Twitter. Always hit me up. I'm always excited to talk of rookie drafts because that's all I'm doing right now for the next 2 weeks or week and a half at least. So very exciting.
Make sure you post some of your results too.
I'll send them to you too.
Oh, that's good. I need them. And that's just gonna wrap us. It's gonna wrap our episode up for today, guys. Obviously, you know where to find us at. We'll be viewing on Mondays. I don't know about next week, but Coach Steve will definitely be in the Twitter mentions, letting you know when our next episode's dropping. The rookie draft and the prospects and everything was fun, guys. But we got to get to the. We got to get busy now.
Yeah.
With these drafts and stuff. So.
A lot of rookie content coming in.
Coach Gibbs signing out.